Welcome back in one of the Bear Show Plays YouTube channel. Today is Saturday, January 18th, and I'm back breaking down some more college basketball for you guys. We have a loaded slate of games on Saturday. Going to be breaking down 5 games, 2 player props, most of them being top 25 battles. Before that, let's talk about the horrible night, especially on the game picks. Ohio State and Indiana are going to overtime. There's no way Ohio State covers 7.5 unless they get extremely lucky. Indiana's been kind of bullying them the entire game. So Indiana, if they lose this game, that's actually a bad loss. Even though it's on the road going up against Ohio State, I feel like Ohio State has played horrible and Indiana's played really well. And I don't know how this game's going to overtime, but it is. And we have them minus 7.5. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Other game, Iowa plus 6.5. They're down by 30 at half. They have 27. They've allowed like 60 or whatever it is. UCLA is not that good, especially offensively. Peyton Sanford, he did go out with got racked, and he has a bad wrist. He got kicked in the balls, and he has a bad wrist. So I don't think he's going to play the rest of the game. He only played 7 or 8 minutes in the game. So that was one of the player props that we lost. Peyton Sanford probably will not return, especially in a 30-point blowout. Iowa is going to lose. It's at half. We have them plus 6.5. They're down by 30. They're going to lose that game, especially without their best player. Only winner, Ballo, over 10.5 rebounds, had 11 with like 4 or 5 minutes left in the second half. Kind of dominating Ohio State down low, especially with Indiana losing one of their best players as well with injury, not playing in this game. This Indiana team, if they win this game, that's a monster win for them. So I kind of hope they win it, especially since Ohio State can't cover the spread. Hope Indiana wins this game at Ohio State. But not a good day, 1-3 after a really good day the other day with a sweep. But we're going to get back on track here. We have Saturday games, and we have 4 matchups. One game I'm going to talk about at the end, and then 2 player props. This one, it's kind of a no-brainer. Alabama going up against Kentucky. If you had to put a gun to my head with this one, I might actually take Alabama to win this game outright. But Kentucky, they've been so good at home this season. I just don't see them losing this game. Alabama's coming off a loss to Ole Miss. I told you about Alabama. They have no defense, so this game will be high scoring. If they don't make their shots, they're going to lose some games come March Madness, which is why they won't win the title. But they're coming off a loss, 74-64, going up against Ole Miss. They had routed off like 10 in a row before that game. They have played some pretty good teams this season. Kentucky also played some really good teams this season, coming off a monster win on the road against Texas A&M. They went on the road going up against Mississippi State. Tough place to play. Beat that team by 5, 95-90. I just see this game being high scoring, and it actually might even be higher than 86-90. But I'll take the over in this game as the first play. Second play of the night, we're going to go Kansas State going up against Kansas. This is a game that it's a rivalry matchup. I was going to take Kansas State with the points. I'm not. I'm going to take Kansas minus 15.5. Kansas State is just so bad this season. Usually Kansas State has a couple pieces. This season, they really don't have anybody. They have a couple good scorers, but they don't play defense at all. Usually this Kansas State defense, they show up. They play good defense, but this season is just not there. A piss-poor showing by the Kansas State faithful at home against Texas Tech. Big game. They were on a 3-game losing streak. Just got their ass kicked by Houston by 30 points. They're at home. They need the crowd. There's like a total of 15 people in the stadium. The fans have given up on Kansas State. It looks like the college and the students have given up on Kansas State. They kind of given up on themselves, even though they played decent against Texas Tech, which I think is a pretty good team, losing that game by 4 points. But they've now lost 7 of the last 8. Kansas, like I said before, after that West Virginia game where they went on an absolute tear, they lost on the road to Iowa State, which I thought they would lose that game. We took the under. The under did cash, but Kansas lost by 17. Only scored 57 points in this game. This feels like a game Kansas is going to come out here at Allen Fieldhouse, score 90 points, and just blow out Kansas State. So I'm going to take the minus 15.5, even though it is a rivalry game. Kansas minus 15.5 will be the play. For the next play, Purdue going up against Oregon. Oregon on the money line will be the play. This is a very small spread for Oregon. I'm going to take them to just win the game outright. I beg you. I'm begging you. Do not fall into the trap of thinking Purdue is a good team. They have lost to Texas A&M and Auburn over the last month. Those are 2 top 25 teams. They have beaten Toledo, Minnesota, Northwestern, Rutgers, Nebraska, probably the best team of all of those teams I just named, and then Washington. Nebraska is not top 25. Nebraska is probably even not top 50 in KenPom. Purdue beats bad teams. Oregon is a top 25 team. They're at home. They have some good quality wins this season. They've beaten A&M. They've beaten Alabama. They lost to Illinois, but that was a game that was a little bit weird for them. They're at home. Do not fall into the trap of thinking Purdue is a good team in the Big Ten. Don't do it. They are not a good team. Take Oregon on this one on the money line. This is the easiest bet of the day. Oregon at home is the play. Next play, last play of the day. Ole Miss going up against Mississippi State, the Egg Bowl in football. Don't know if they have a name for it in basketball. Maybe it is the Egg Bowl 2.0, but I like Mississippi State in this game. I think they're going to cover the spread pretty easily. Mississippi State coming off a tough game going up against Kentucky. That's a top 10 team going up against Auburn. That's the number one team in the country. So back-to-back games, Mississippi State really didn't have a chance. They were at home against Kentucky. Was a 5-point game going up against that really good squad. They're going to be at home in this game once again going up against Ole Miss. And I don't even know if Ole Miss is even good. They've got a couple good players. Nobody scoring over 14 points per game. Guard plays decent. They beat Alabama in the last one because of their defense, only giving up 64 points to Alabama. But really, Alabama just couldn't make a three. That's the difference in that game. They have been able to win 4 consecutive good wins against Georgia and Alabama. But this Mississippi State team, coming off back-to-back losses, they need a win. They're going to get a win here. Against the spread from Mississippi State, at home will be the play. Let's go to the player props, and I'm going to start by kicking myself in the balls because I hate nothing more. There's nobody I hate more in college basketball than Hunter Dickinson, but this is the spot you got to take Hunter Dickinson. Last year against Kansas State, pretty sure he had a 20-12 game going up against Kansas State. This year is going to be the exact same thing, 20-12 going up against Kansas State. So if you want to take his rebounds, go for it. I'm going to take the over 14.5 points. He's been averaging about 15 points per game, so it's going to be 14.5 or 15.5 going up against Kansas State. Kansas State, nobody down low to contest Hunter Dickinson. And whenever you give Hunter Dickinson the ball 8 feet from the rim, he's almost unstoppable. He's got a little baby hook, and he can dunk, I guess. He's a 7-footer. But the baby hook's going to be a problem in this game for Kansas State. It's just going to be Kansas dumping it down to Hunter Dickinson. It's going to be a slow-paced game. Kansas is going to play really good defense in Allen Fieldhouse. We're going to get a classic 20-12 game out of Hunter Dickinson. And yes, I hate Hunter Dickinson, but if he can make me some money, I'm going to play him every single time. Coming off a really bad game going up against Ohio State, you can almost guarantee 15 shot attempts in this one for Hunter Dickinson. I'm going to go as over 14.5, maybe 15.5 as the first play. And for the last play of the day, going back to Mississippi State going up against this Ole Miss defense. Ole Miss defense pretty good on the season, 64th in the country. I do think Mississippi State could potentially run the score up because, again, they put up 90 points going up against Kentucky. I'm not saying Kentucky's a great defense, but the potential to put up a lot of points is there for this Mississippi State team. Josh Hubbard is one of the best scorers in the country. He's averaging 17 points per game. He is a leading scorer for this Mississippi State team by a wide margin. He takes the most shots in this team by a wide margin, coming off a really bad game going up against Auburn. I'm going to take his over 3s in this game. Over 2.5, maybe 3.5 as the play. He has set up shot from the outside over the last 3 games. 10-plus threes in 3 of the last 4 games. Didn't really have an effective day going up against Auburn. He only made 2 of his 12 attempts. Both of them from the outside, went 2 of 10, but he still scored 17 points in the game, 11 of 12 from the free throw line. That's what you'd love to see in a player prop whenever you take it. If they can make their free throws, if they can get to the line, it's almost a free bet, really, because that's what I was doing with Mark Sears last year. Can't really trust him this season, but Josh Hubbard in the last game, if you had him over the total points, you were just living at the line the entire game. Even if he has a bad day, he made all of his free throws, and you were chilling with the over 16.5 points probably. Had a bad game against Kentucky as well, made 3 of 11 from the outside, but he is taking a lot of threes this season. 8-plus threes in 7 of the last 8 games. I like him to shoot a lot of threes in this game as well, going up against Ole Miss. Plus, he's going to be at home. I'll take the over 2.5, maybe 3.5 as the final player prop of the day. Let's go talk about some other games because we do have a lot of games on Saturday. I'm just going to talk about one more. It's going to be Texas Tech going up against Arizona. Texas Tech has played some really tough games over the last couple. Iowa State, they lost that one. They should have won that game. Man, they should have won that game. Double overtime. No, single overtime. No. Yes? Single overtime. I think single overtime. And it was just a little push shot floater from about free throw line with a couple seconds left. Hit back iron. Kind of just clunk and it whirled right off. Really, really tough loss for Texas Tech in that game. Trying to beat a really good Big 12 team and Iowa State. They did bounce back going up against Kansas State, winning by 4 on the road again. This is the first time back home after that Iowa State lost by 1 point in overtime. I think they take care of business here against Arizona. So I take them against the spread going up against Arizona as the other matchup. Not going to bet it, but if you were to take another bet, I think Texas Tech is a pretty good play there. Also have a couple player props down there you should look at. Boopie Miller or Chuck Harris for SMU to go over their total points. Chuck Harris has actually been the scorer over the last couple of games for SMU. I think he scored 18 and plus points in 3 of the last 4 games, whatever it is. But he only plays 22 minutes per game, so that's a little bit concerning. Boopie Miller is the guy who's on the floor the most for SMU. He takes the most shots per game, but he's really been struggling. But they're both going up against Miami. Miami this season came into the season. They were supposed to be a hot team, could have been a top 25 team to start the year, but they have been horrible defensively, and they're going to be horrible defensively in this game going up against SMU. So if you need some more player props, I'd start with those two guys. And the other one is Trey Johnson of Texas to go over his total points going up against Florida. Texas is a really big underdog tomorrow going up against Florida. They're plus 11 on the road. Florida really hasn't been playing great defense this season, and Texas, not a very good scoring team, but Trey Johnson is one of the best young players in the country, and he's up there in the mock drafts as one of the best potential NBA players coming up in the next couple of years. So I think Trey Johnson puts up a big number. He's had some big games going up against some top teams already this season. He had a couple 18-plus point games against a couple top 25 teams. So I like him in this one as well. If you're looking for more player props, I would start with those 3 people. But for myself, what we're going to be taking, Alabama, Kentucky over the total points, Kansas minus 15.5, Oregon on the money line, small spread, just take Oregon on the money line, and then Mississippi State against the spread when it comes out against Ole Miss. We have Hunter Dickinson over 15.5 points most likely. And then finally, Josh Hubbard over his total threes, not over his total points. He can take over points, but I'm going over threes, 2.5, maybe 3.5 as the final play of the day. Guys, it's going to do it for the NCAA basketball picks and props for Saturday, January 18th slate of games. If you guys enjoyed the content, please sure drop a like this video and subscribe channel below. See you guys next video, and thanks for watching.